Learning English through stories. The honest woodcutter. Listen and practice. Once upon a time, there was a poor man whose ethics were based on the teachings of the Quran and the practices of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Every morning, immediately after the Fajr prayer and recitation of supplications, he would set out to the forest to gather the fruits of his labor. He worked as a woodcutter, cutting branches from dense forest trees and selling them to support himself, his wife, and their young children. After finishing his work, he would return home, bringing sustenance for his family. He was grateful for the blessings bestowed upon him by Allah. One day, as the woodcutter was striking the trees with his axe, a stranger whom he had never seen before approached him. The stranger complained about the noise caused by the sound of the axe. The woodcutter explained that he had no choice and that he was doing it to feed his young children. The stranger proposed an agreement. He offered the woodcutter a magical sheep which produced pure milk on one side and honey on the other. The woodcutter was to refrain from going to the forest again, cut wood. Initially, the woodcutter found it hard to believe, but when he returned home and his wife confirmed the stranger's words, they realized that it was true. His wife milked the sheep, and they fed their children with its milk and honey. In the morning, the woodcutter took the sheep and gave it to a shepherd to graze with his flock. However, he warned the shepherd to be cautious with the sheep, as it was different from the others, providing both milk and honey. The shepherd didn't believe him and dismissed his words. To prove his point, the woodcutter said, "If you don't believe me, see for yourself." When the shepherd witnessed the sheep's unique abilities, he became eager to replace it with another sheep possessing the same qualities. When the woodcutter's wife milked the sheep to feed their children, she discovered that it only produced milk and not honey. She complained to her husband, who went to the shepherd to retrieve his sheep. However, the deceitful shepherd denied everything. The woodcutter decided to take his case to the judge, but the judge didn't believe his story, and the woodcutter had to accept the unjust ruling. The next day, the woodcutter returned to his old routine of cutting wood. As he struck the trees with his axe for the first time, the stranger appeared once again. He asked the woodcutter, "Why have you come back here? Didn't you promise me otherwise?" The woodcutter recounted his story with the shepherd to the stranger. This time, the stranger gave him a magical measuring vessel. Whenever the woodcutter desired gold, he could ask the vessel, and it would fill up with gold accordingly. Joyfully, the woodcutter returned to his wife and asked her to borrow a hut from their neighbor so they could put the gold in it and take it to the market to buy what they needed. His wife went to the neighbor, but the nosy neighbor applied adhesive to the bottom of the pot to find out what they were going to put in it. When the neighbor returned the pot, she found a piece of pure gold stuck to the bottom, which she promptly returned. However, she refused to take it and gave them even more gold. She explained the whole story to the neighbor, showcasing her kindness and generosity. The neighbor then requested to borrow the magical vessel from the woodcutter's wife. However, the cunning neighbor replaced the vessel with a similar one, and when the wife asked for the original one, the deceitful neighbor denied having it. On the following day, the woodcutter returned to his old habit of cutting wood, and while he was working, the stranger came to him for the third time. Before he could ask anything, the woodcutter told him everything that had happened. This time, the stranger gave him a magical tablecloth and instructed him not to let the secret escape to anyone. Returning to his wife, the woodcutter shared the good news, and whenever mealtime arrived, she would ask the magical tablecloth for various colors of delicious food, and the tablecloth fulfilled her every request. However, the secret did not stay hidden for long, and everyone became aware of it. The prince of the town seized the tablecloth by force. Disheartened, the woodcutter returned to his work. The stranger waited until the woodcutter approached him, complaining about the injustice he had suffered at the hands of Prince. The stranger became angry and said, "This time, I will give you something different from all the previous times." He gave the woodcutter a whip and instructed him to lock himself in a room. The woodcutter was also instructed not to allow anyone from his family to enter the room. The woodcutter followed the instructions. But to his surprise, the whip relentlessly beat him until he fell unconscious on the ground. When he regained consciousness, he was determined to throw the whip far away. However, his wife indicated the necessity for him to take the magic whip to the shepherd and ask him to whip his sheep without mentioning the gold. The woodcutter did as his wife suggested. The shepherd asked the whip for a large amount of gold, and as it struck him, the whip spoke, demanding the return of the sheep to the woodcutter. The shepherd returned the sheep and the whip. Using the same trick, they reclaimed their rights from the cunning neighbor and the unjust prince. The woodcutter's wise wife suggested that they leave the town with their children and move to a new place where no one knew them. They did just that, enjoying the blessings bestowed upon them by Allah and helping His creation with the wealth they had obtained. The moral of the story is that trust in others is not always guaranteed, and we should approach it with caution and wisdom. Furthermore, we learn that honesty, integrity, wisdom, and trust in God are values that help us achieve success.
If you like the video, don't forget to subscribe, like and share.